with the permanent and unconditional support of the state, headed by President Juan Manuel Santos Calderón, the National Police of Colombia hereby makes public the management assessment of the Director of the National Police, General Óscar Naranjo Trujillo, during his 4-year tenure. This detailed report confirms the credibility and work of the police in order to give the national and international community first-hand knowledge of all achievements made under the guidelines and policies of humanism and management by competencies. The institution has progressed in the creation of a policy which includes 7 basic guidelines, and which during this quadrennium has resulted in numerous advances in all spheres of institutional development. Police management based on humanism. Based on the principles of respect and the dignity of mankind, its freedom, rights and ideas, this guideline has become the axis of institution and the first step towards creating awareness on the value of life, reflected in such aspects as the increase in the number of officers on patrol from 135,644 to 162,389, which has directly permeated the management and service of the police force, as well as the training of more than 119,278 officials who have received both formal and informal education. The promotion of more than 23,578 officers during the last 4 years has represented for the institution and its personnel the acknowledgement of work done and the possibility of exceeding and realizing dreams, not only for those who have been promoted, but also for their families who celebrate this possibility with joy and satisfaction of having fulfilled objectives. Our commitment to health and well-being, a constant challenge to humanism, has seen some 40,148 new affiliates to the healthcare system, between holders and beneficiaries, for a total of 558,267 persons, as well as the possibility of enjoying the benefits of social well-being programs, which have a total of 142,000 affiliates. Humanism also encompasses our responsibility for human rights, and as civil servants, there is a marked difference of about 96% in the number of complaints brought before the district attorney, providing evidence of our leadership before public organizations. In order to continue our consolidation of an integral system of management, in 2010, the institution carried out a study on organizational culture, which allowed us to describe how we are and how we carry out our services. Service management on effective results. Fulfilling the needs of our citizens in terms of security and coexistence is perhaps the most important challenge in the accomplishment of our mission. The implementation of 5 new police stations in the country responds to this challenge. Barranquilla, Cartagena, Bucaramanga, Cúcuta, and Pereira now join these already established in Bogotá, Medellín, and Cali, representing our institutional commitment to reducing crime, increasing the sense of security, and generating positive results. The implementation of a national community watch plan by blocks will result in around 1,544 blocks in the 8 police stations of the country. The decrease in crime indices such as homicide, 10%, kidnapping, 46%, carjacking, and cattle theft consolidate the institution's preventive role and at the same time prepares it to take on operational challenges which have occurred over the last 4 years, such as the recuperation of 64,000 350 vehicles, the capture of 462 persons for extradition purposes, the eradication of 2,010 hectares of poppy, and the seizure of 1,203,598 kilograms of narcotics, among others. These results portray an institution which is more capable, competent, and credible in the eyes of the public. With regards to the impact results, these were directed to two categories in the policy on democratic prosperity and under the influence of an ongoing security project to break up groups which infringe the law, as well as to put an end to narco-trafficking. Interinstitutional cooperation has provided evidence of the articulation of efforts with other law enforcement agents and forces, which has seen a clear message of unity, strength of democracy, and security of the Colombian territory in the face of illegal activity. In terms of narco-trafficking and criminal networks, the primary neutralization and captures allowed for the disarticulation of delinquent structures through important operations. Captures such as that of Juan Carlos Ramirez Abadia, alias Chupeta, in August 2007, Miguel Ángel Mejía Munera in May 2008, Daniel Reldon Herrera, alias Don Mario, in 2009, and neutralizations such as that of Victor Manuel Mejía Munera, Cesar Augusto Torres, alias Monovides, and Pedro Oliverio Guerrero Castillo, alias Cuchillo, in 2010. These have provided evidence of an institution whose most important element consists of the work articulated between its intelligence agents who have handed in pertinent and opportune information, thus allowing for the success of task force against all forms of delinquency. Undoubtedly, narcoterrorism in Colombia has circumstantial motives based on the use of different methods and places to assert that the national police carried out innumerable efforts in the fight against this calamity. Operations Phoenix, Sodoma, Fortaleza, and approximately 75 strategic actions resulted in the capture and death of the most feared guerrillas, who for 30 years have caused social and economic damage to our country, and which have also derailed the myth of invulnerability of the leaders of the FARC with neutralizations such as those of Luis Edgar de Villa, alias Raúl Reyes, in 2008, and Luis Suarez, alias Mono Jojoy, in 2010. Other significant achievements in the fight against terrorist groups were those of Heli Mendoza, alias Martin Sombra, Ricardo de Jesus Agudelo, alias El Paisa, Elmer Mahecha Triana, alias Patamala, Ruben Antonio García Gómez, alias Danilo, Gentil Gómez Marín, alias Edgar Tovar, and Sixto Antonio Cabana, alias Domingo Biojo. Similarly, the transnational fight against crime is the heart of our security policy. In the last 4 years, the institution has reinforced its relationship with high-level organizations such as Interpol and Europol, which translates to better results in the fight against crime. The National Police of Colombia has been the protagonist in the fight against all forms of delinquency, and as such, Ameripol has become the mechanism which pools experiences, efforts, and capacities from policing bodies in the Americas. The redesign and strengthening of the administrative structure. The National Police of Colombia bases its administrative system on an integral system of management, and as such, favors administrative redesign oriented towards the improvement and strengthening of management through better practices which ensure institutional competitiveness and productivity. The ISO 9001 certification of the National Police and the Technical Norm in Quality Management for Public Administration, NTGCP 1000, had an impact on 17 first-level processes and 42 second-level processes, consolidating and standardizing the actions and procedures of the civil servants of the institution. The growth in logistics has permitted the improvement and increase in response capacities in aspects such as air mobility, moving from 62 to 66, from 29 to 45 airplanes, and highlighting the acquisition of a 42-230 airplane that has mobilized more than 156,000 members of the National Police Force. Mobility increased in the acquisition of automobiles, moving from 7,795 vehicles to 13,217, and from 11,465 to 22,012 motorcycles, increasing mobility by 48%. 32.6% growth in terms of weaponry is evidenced, consolidating the SIG Sour pistol as the standard weapon. There was a 65% increase in the use of canines and equines. The strengthening of the physical structure with the construction of 186 stations, of which one is the first bioclimatic and sustainable in the country, shows the commitment of the institution to the environment. The reconstruction of the Metropolitan Police High Command in Cali and the adaptation of the facilities at the General and National Headquarters have allowed for the improvement of the quality of service offered and project a better image to the community. The modernization of uniforms, increasing visibility, comfort, functionality, and the protection of the men and women of the police force has solidified the new institutional image. Knowledge empowerment and police training. Under the premise that the continuous development of the civil servant makes him more effective in his performance, three main pillars have been established: knowledge empowerment, focus on humanism, and comprehensive training. Consequently, the institution presently has 4 programs with high quality accreditation and 35 tertiary level programs with qualified registration, 259 online programs with the participation of 85,000 students nationwide, and 148 face-to-face programs with 49,000 officers, which all reaffirm the decision to continuously educate the men and women of our force. There was an increase from 12 to 14 training schools where the participation of indigenous and Afro-Colombian descendants is noteworthy. 1,904 officers have received scholarships for postgraduate studies. 4,894 personnel from different ranks have traveled abroad to receive training with those countries where the police has agreements. 1,522 foreign personnel were trained in Colombia, and 8,389 officers have received training abroad sponsored by the National Police. 48 existing agreements with different universities across the country gave officers and their families access to vocational education. The formation of training squads have structured and solidified the administrative processes and knowledge of personnel, allowing training of approximately 120,000 policemen. 91 police cafes installed across the country bring technology and knowledge even in areas where access is difficult for the tracks. The Science and Technology institutional system seeks to maximize human talent supported by avant-garde technology capable of accelerating processes and improving the quality of services. The National Police currently has 54 information systems in use, 34 of which were developed by the institution, 8 regional criminal laboratories, and 906 intelligence patrols, which facilitate the articulation of diverse tasks among the specialized units. The creation of the Nuclear, Biological, Radioactive, and Chemical Group, assigned to the head of criminal investigation in order to fight against weapons of mass destruction, ensures the prevention of high-level terrorist actions, which these kinds of items. 2,595 surveillance cameras allow for detailed and first-hand knowledge of crimes committed and traffic violations. 25,504 latest technology computer equipment provided to facilitate the training and updating of police officers in which the units are responsible. The communications area has developed an adequate communication channel with voice and data network and the use of 400 satellite networks, 1,800 wireless modems, 11 branch networks, 34 digital networks, and more than 137 telephone channels. With a connectivity of nearly 97% of units nationwide, the National Police currently accounts for 2,500 allied units throughout the country. Institutional leadership and strategic communication. Since his inauguration, the General Director of the National Police turned all his efforts to managing the institution a reference in the continent. Specialized support groups familiar with the topic of corporate group communications reinforce strategies aimed to unify its image and its language. Planning on the subject of communications enables the creation and development of red course communication structures which facilitate public communication processes and links with the community. The institution has achieved the publication of 50,000 magazines on different topics of police duties, 25,000 educational brochures, and the implementation of strategies for better coexistence, 415,000 institutional magazines, and 2.4 million newspapers distributed to the community in order to bring them closer to the police and allowing connoisseurs and security experts to provide their concepts and experiences in the social field. More than 1,100,000 news was generated by the institution and can directly affect the national media agenda. Awards and recognitions at the national and international level, such as the 2008 Portfolio Award, the delivery in custody of the Escopetada by representatives of the United Nations in Colombia, the 2010 National Award for Excellence and Innovation in Management, recognize the effort of the institution and the commitment of the 162,389 officers to a country in permanent development, economic and social growth. The daily broadcast of the institutional TV program, Seguridad al Día, facilitates the improvement of communication between the police and the citizens of Colombia. The internal TV program, Police Vacation, has become a communications and information bridge between the higher police authorities and decentralized units. 36 radio stations distributed throughout the national territory with FM band apply communication strategies that allow publicizing specific programs that benefit the community at large. 1,800,000 visits to our YouTube institutional channel, 180,000 Facebook followers, and 39,550 Twitter followers allow us to communicate virtually and consolidate our social networks through technology. Institutional control and social oversight to improve service. The strengthening of institutional control and citizen supervision allows the institution to project the police service in a transparent way and therefore promote respect, equity, and justice through the ethical behavior of its men and women. In this order of ideas, the institution organized and renovated 117 citizen service offices, which make it possible that transparency in the system will be reflected in the citizens' satisfaction. The direct line as channels of communication against the suggestions, complaints, and claim of the citizens broaden their coverage, facilitating the community's social actions control. Satisfactorily, during the last 4 years, disciplinary sanctions have seen a considerable reduction, confirming the responsibility of our human component to the oath of a timely, transparent, and effective service for the community. Communications to citizens and towards the interior of the institution, the achievements and actions executed, showing transparency in service, allowed the National Police to report 138 internal accounts and 141 externals, increasing confidence and trust in the work of the police. Today, more than 3.5 million people are integrated with the National Police through the different programs of citizenship participation throughout the country, which fills us with joy and hope towards an inclusive and participatory society, attentive and interested in the outcomes of the nation.